and to shed more light on the President's address yesterday and the economic directives he said about. We are joined over the phone by Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, economic expert. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, madam.
So, Dr. Ayman, the President mentioned many points in his address yesterday as expanding permanent markets and regulating supply chains through the Future of Egypt Authority to lower the cost of living. From an economic standpoint, can state-regulated supply chains successfully stabilize prices long-term? Yes, Dr. Ayman?
Presidential, yes, hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I was telling you, madam, that the presidential speech yesterday gave a lot of economic and political messages to the local business community, the regional, as well as the international business communities. Actually, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he mentioned that politics and economics are two faces of the same coin, that the political stability and political strength of the country is a prerequisite for the economic strength. It's a prerequisite for the economic development. He mentioned that the Egypt now is considered to be the anchor of the stability and security in the whole Middle East region. Of course, we know that the Egyptian economy suffered since 2011, especially the losses that emanated from the depreciation of the Egyptian pound, as mentioned by the President, as well as, of course, the economic losses that came due to the different international crises that Egypt suffered from. And not only Egypt, of course, but the whole world. Of course, we're talking about the COVID-19 crisis, as well as the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israeli war on Gaza Strip, and then finally the latest war in the Middle East between Iran and the United States. Amid all these crises, the Egyptian economy was able to sustain based on the political stability of Egypt, based on the political strength of Egypt, as well as the awareness of the Egyptian citizens of the importance of preserving the state and keeping the stability and keeping the security of the state. Since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was elected in 2014, the whole country embarked on a massive construction process. This is even more aggressive than the construction process that was undertaken during the reign of Muhammad Ali at the beginning of the 19th century. And we consider such old construction process as the construction or establishment of modern Egypt. Now Egypt is building the new republic based on a whole master plan that rests on the construction or revamping of the whole infrastructure of Egypt. Egypt was able to construct more than 7,000 kilometers of road, increasing the efficiency of more than 10,000 kilometers. And this improved the total road network to more than 31,000 kilometers. So we're talking about 17,000 kilometers of roads that were established or revamped during the tenure of President el-Sisi, making it 54% of the Egyptian road network. Also, we're talking about the improvement in our production capacity of electricity and increasing the coverage of the power plant. Again, we were able to almost double the production capacity of electricity from around 31,000 megabytes hour to around 59,000 megabytes hour, which is equivalent to 28,000 megabytes hour, which is equal to 6.8 times the high dam capacity, even after increasing its energy production capacity. So all these elements, they contributed to revamping the whole of the Egyptian economy. And as the president said, we are now preparing for the second phase of the economic development program. After we finished after we are about to finish the structural reform program and the monetary reform program in coordination with the IMF. Now we are preparing for the new phase of the economic reform, and I believe that such a new phase of the economic reform will be the transformation of the Egyptian economy from being a rentier economy into becoming a production-based, export-based, and service-based economy.
So, Dr. Ayman, you just mentioned that the President said the new national economic program to improve the living standards. There will be an national economic program to improve living standards after the current IMF program wraps up. What major policy shifts should this new program focus on to ensure that macroeconomic stability actually trickles down to ordinary citizens?
Well, actually, Madam, sorry.
Yes.
Actually, you are posing. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry again. Well, you are posing a very important. Improving the living standards of the Egyptian population. On the other hand, trickling down the benefits of the economic reform and of the economic growth to ordinary Egyptian citizens. I believe we have to segregate between these two issues. First of all, if we talk about the improvement of if we talk about the improvement of the living standard of the Egyptian population through the social protection, we have to remember that such endeavor has to be within maintaining the fiscal discipline of the state. The fiscal discipline is an important covenant that we set for ourselves, because we don't have to repeat the previous mistakes in previous decades where the budget used to lose its discipline and the budget deficit used to expand based on social protection expenses that led to increasing the government debt. And then also in previous decades, even we used to print banknotes for the sake of increasing the social protection expenditure. But now the president has set for us clear standard for maintaining the fiscal discipline of the state. Egypt was able to move its budget deficit from around 13.9% in 2013 to expected 4.9% in the upcoming year, 26-27, while maintaining a primary surplus, which is the revenues minus expenses, without looking at the debt service, has to be a positive figure, and we're expecting to have 5% of the GDP as a primary surplus next year. But this does not mean that we are reducing our expenditure on social protection. If we look at the future budget or the upcoming budget of the year 26-27, we'll find that the social protection expenses amount to 832 billion Egyptian pounds, with a growth of 12% from the previous year. This means that we are increasing and improving the social protection expenditure while maintaining the fiscal discipline of the state. Now to come to the second part of your question regarding how to trickle down the benefits of the economic reform program to the ordinary citizen, I believe that the President also has spoken about the empowerment of the private sector, especially the small and the micro sector. we have to remember that such sector was the locomotive of the growth in Southeast Asia, which we are trying to some extent to replicate its model. And the economic empowerment of such sector has to come through many vehicles, including providing finance through central banks, through the Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Authority, as well as the different government initiatives, as well as the normal growth of this sector as a feeding industries for the major industries. In this regard, we have to see the Egyptian National Industry Strategy, which aims at increasing the industrial output to around 20% of the GDP by 2030, as well as localizing the inputs of industries. And in the heart of such localization is the expansion of the small and micro sectors, because these are and also the medium sector, of course, because these are the feeding industries to the mega industries.
Yes. So, Dr. Ayman, also there is a dual focus here, strengthening the private sector role in leading growth, while simultaneously expanding state-led projects via the Future of Egypt Authority. In your opinion, how can the government balance between these two approaches?
Well, actually, the expansion of the state interference in the economy is in the sectors that the private sector would be shy of entering into. Why? Because such sectors, they require a lot of investments, and the returns don't come in the short and even in the medium term. They are a bit of a long-term return sector from one hand, and from the other hand, the return is not only economic. The return from such sectors where the government enters into, the return is more of a social and political and strategic gain, side by side, of course, with the economic return. And one of the main examples of such sectors is the agricultural sector. The new Delta sector the new Delta project on 2.2 million acres in the Western Desert, west of the Nile, west of Rosetta branch of the Nile, as well as, of course, the new North Sinai development project on 620,000 acres east of the Nile, extending to North Sinai. Now, these projects, of course, the government has to support. But on the other hand, there is a very important development that happened during the last month, which is the inauguration or the release of the second edition of the state ownership policy.
Yes.
And in this document, it clearly stated that Egypt, or the Egyptian state, is very serious in getting out of the sectors that have to be devoted to the private sector, of the sectors of less strategic importance, and focusing on the sectors that I've just mentioned, the sectors where the private sector doesn't want to enter into, because their return is more of a political and social return, as well as economic return, of course, and it comes on the long term. So I believe that the release of such new edition or second edition of the state ownership policy gives more credibility to the government investment strategy, especially when we are talking about the expansion in these strategic sectors.
Yes. So, Dr. Ayman, also the instructions yesterday call for linking education outcomes to the labor market needs. How can we bridge this gap?
Well, regarding bridging the gap between the labor market and the education sector, we are talking about many different venues. Of course, the expansion in the technical education in secondary schools. This is one important venue. The second venue is providing training to the graduates public universities and public schools, because such training programs are considered to be crash and quick programs that abridge the gap between the education provided, the theoretical education and the practical requirements of the labor market. What I call the building of the human capital during the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is very important to notice, because Egypt is a young population. More than 54% of our population is in the age of 26 and less. This makes them more than 55 to 60 million persons. Of course, such big human capital, such big human young capital is both a treasure as well as a threat. It's a treasure and it's a very important resource if we're able to train them well, if we're able to equip them for the requirements of the labor market. But on the other hand, they can pose a threat, they can pose a risk if we're not able to train them well, if they enter into the labor market unequipped and then they go to unemployment. Now, the good thing here is that the Egyptian economy, after the massive construction process led by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the infrastructure, in building 22 new fourth generation cities, and in reforming the economy both from a fiscal and monetary perspectives, now the Egyptian economy is starting its major transformation process from being a rentier economy, an economy that depended on the yield coming from either Suez Canal or the Egyptians abroad or tourism, into becoming an export-based and a production-based economy. Now Egypt is well equipped to attract investments in the industrial sector, and providing such training, providing such equipment to the young generation will help them to fill the requirements, the gaps in the labor market, and will help them to push forward the development of the country. Finally, we have to remember that the unemployment rate declined in Egypt from around 12.6% in 2016 to around 6% presently. So we're talking about 6.6% decline. If you multiply it by the formal labor sector, which is around 30 million people, then Egypt was able to increase the jobs, or to create more jobs of around 2 million jobs. If our estimates for the informal economy is that it's equal to the formal economy, then we're able to create jobs for around 4 million people. But all these jobs, whether directly or indirectly, they were because of the construction sector, the massive construction process that took place from 2014 till today. Of course, we should not expect such massive construction process to remain forever. And now we're trying to create jobs based on production, based on value addition, whether in the industrial or the agricultural sector, because these are more sustainable and more prone to growth jobs.
Yes. One final question, Dr. Ayman, which is the importance of digital transformation, and how much of an impact does shifting to a fully digital, cashless governance system have on reducing the fiscal leakages and improve Egypt's investment climate?
Well, actually, the informal economy, informal economy estimated by many experts to be equal to the formal economy. And yes, here we have a very important ratio that can help us to estimate the level of the informal economy. It's the tax revenue divided by the total GDP. In Egypt, it's from 12 to 13% historically, and in most of the industrial and developed countries, it's from 24 to 40%. And that's why if we say that our ratio should be around 24 to 25%, then this means that the size of the informal economy is around equal to the size of the formal economy. Now, the informal economy, of course, it does not pay taxes, and this, as you said, creates a lot of leakages in the Egyptian tax system and in the tax revenues, and leads to increasing, of course, the government debt. But on the other hand, we should take high care in dealing with the informal economy, because such economy provides jobs and provides goods and services at affordable prices to the majority of the population. And that's exactly what the government is trying to do. It's trying to provide incentives to the informal economy to become formal, to enter into the formal realm and to start reporting itself by offering different incentives, whether finance, whether allowing, for example, the provisions of the laws 5, 6, and 7 of the 2025, which allowed the informal entities to enter into the registration with the Ministry of Finance and waive all the fines, all the applicable fines, if such entities went and registered themselves. So we have different incentives to the informal economy. I believe the most important incentive here would be providing assistance, especially in the marketing and in the training and development of such entities and of such sector. And I believe that this would be the role of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, of course, in collaboration with the Ministry of Exterior. Yes. Because here we have to look at the experience of the countries that empower the informal economy and that enhanced its small and medium-sized enterprises by allowing them to export and by helping them to export.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Ayman.
India of the countries of Southeast Asia.
Yes, Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, economic and legal expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us and back.